Start this webinar. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I see some diehard names in our participant panels. I appreciate you all being here all 3 days. Welcome back. Day three, session three. It has been an absolute whirlwind, and hopefully we are going to end strong with an even deeper SEO and AI SEO talk for everyone. So, welcome, Christy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have enjoyed tuning into the presentations myself, and they've got me all geared up and excited to talk more about SEO and AI search. So I'm just glad, thanks everybody, like Katie was saying, for tuning in, and I'm excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much noise out there about the future of search, SEO, and so really taking a step back and thinking about the practical ways to move forward with your SEO strategy, I think is so important because to hear people say SEO is dead is, maybe a little bit of a trigger point for me. It's just like hearing email is dead. Look, it takes a mix of everything in our ecosystem to make a cohesive marketing plan. So we're going to dive in. It looks like a few more may struggle in. I'm going to share my screen. And today for our final session here, let's see, hopefully that's sharing. We'll try that one. All right. That's sharing on your end. We've got another quiz, another interactive quiz for our friends with a little reward at the end if you decide to play. So if you were here for session one on day one, we did a quiz. We had a $50 Amazon gift card for the winner. We're gonna do a little $50 Amazon gift card. So if you got your phone, you can scan the QR code and get ready. We'll dive in just a minute to the content and the quiz. But for any of our friends who weren't able to join us at the top of the day today, Christy, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do at school?
Sure. So, hey everyone, my name is Christy Hunter, for those of you who have not been introduced to me yet. So, I am Smart Girls SEO specialist, and I would say I am extremely passionate, to put it lightly, about making SEO feel a little less overwhelming. And I really enjoy taking kind of like complicated search ideas, concepts, and turning them into those practical, actionable strategies that help businesses grow. That's what you expect out of Smart Girl, is that strategy. And it's extremely important for all things in business, and SEO is not something that can be left out of that bubble. So I know that AI search and AI tools are big points of concern in the marketing world right now. Like Katie said, you might have heard that SEO is dead, or that you need to totally change, online marketing strategies in order to still show up in search. And we know that getting leads online consistently, right, being the key there, is really crucial. So that's what we're going to do today, is to talk about how you can show up online, even with the introduction of AI shaking things up a bit.
Absolutely. All right, so quiz time. Everybody be ready. Everybody get scanned in. Use the QR code here from your phone to be right answers, and speed to getting to those right answers are considered in our quiz. So there's Christy has talked about herself and her role and her passion for SEO and digital marketing. I am the owner, founder, and lead Smart Role at Smart Role Digital. I'm also a marketing nerd for all things digital marketing. So the last 3 days has been fun hearing all the different sides of sales and marketing for senior living. But let's get into our content.
Sure. So I want to start off. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of, we have Susan Miller here. So just for a minute, Susan is a working professional. She's married with kids. And there's one thing that she's been thinking a lot about lately, late at night after her busy day, and that is to find a caring and trustworthy community for her mom, whose health has been declining. So she picks up her phone and maybe she types in memory care near me, or maybe she goes to an AI assistant like Claude, ChatGPT, and she asks, how do I know if my mom needs assisted living or memory care? So, to market your communities well, you need to understand what your ideal client is searching for and how you can show up at the right time in the right place. Whether that right place is a traditional Google search or an AI powered search tool, that is where you need to be. And the key here is if it's not your community that's showing up in those places, then it's your competitors who are getting in front of those potential clients first, no matter how they're searching. So today we're going to talk about traditional SEO, that's search engine optimization. We're going to address how AI search is impacting SEO and our online visibility to those potential customers, the ways in which these two methods of search connect to one another, and then the tactical action steps that you can take today to improve your chances of showing up in any type of search. And like Katie said, we've got some fun quiz questions, and I think that we have our first one coming up. Is that right, Katie?
We do. All right, here's our first question. So we are going to show the question and then we'll launch the actual live question in your app on your phone. So the first question is, which platform has the highest number of users per month? So I'm going to launch the quiz question. So check your device, join us. I'll give everybody a minute to get in there. All
I love
right.
seeing all the names pop up.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hit start. All right, quiz question one. Which platform has the highest number of users per month? Google, A Place for Mom, ChatGPT, or Facebook? And for our super studious um, attendees, we our first session today gave this answer, but I'm excited to kind of talk more about it because it does reinforce the foundations of SEO. So time's up. The answer, yes, it is
I love that.
Google.
Perfect scores from everyone. So if you answered Google, you got this one right. But I want you guys to take a look at those numbers that we've got here. So these are monthly user numbers. And honestly, Google's probably even further ahead than the numbers that you see here. When I was pulling these numbers together, I only used the United States statistic for Google, and I wasn't able to get country specific numbers for all the other platforms. So when you take that into account, the gap becomes even bigger. And so what I want everyone to take away from this question is that traditional Google search is very much alive and well.
Absolutely.
All right, so SEO stands for search engine optimization, right? Search engine refers to a platform like Google or Bing or even YouTube, a platform that your ideal client will use to look for information or advice. But the O, the optimization part of SEO, that's where you come in and you make strategic adjustments to your website or your blog content so that search engines know when to show you as an option in search results. But there isn't just like one setting that you tweak and then all of a sudden, perfect, you've got an optimized website. There are dozens and dozens of things that a search engine like Google takes into account when choosing which communities to show in the search results. And so personally, I like to group these ranking factors into categories. I feel like it makes SEO a little bit easier to work on when you can kind of put them in neat little buckets. So first we've got on-site SEO. These are changes that you make both on the front end and the back end of your website. And I've listed one very important question that you need to ensure your website tackles. And this has already been kind of drilled into you guys earlier this morning. So does your website clearly answer questions that your families are asking, right? That could be things like amenities, floor plans, community size, type of specialty care, dining options, pricing, okay? If you don't actually talk about those things on your website, you can't show up for those searches, right? Search engines only have access to the information that you provide them. So we have to make sure that you're talking about those important topics on your actual website. And then we get into local SEO because you probably aren't trying to show up as an option in the search results for someone in a city that's 12 hours away from you, right? You probably want to show up in a very specific city, a city that's local to your community. And having a well-optimized Google business profile, receiving reviews regularly, and then presenting consistent information about your community in all of the places that you show up online, not just your website. Those are all ways that you can improve your chances of showing up in those local city-specific searches for senior living services. And then lastly, I want to mention online authority, which is how trustworthy and authoritative you are in the eyes of search engines. And that's extremely important. But this is an aspect of SEO that takes time to build. It's not just going in and making a couple of clicks and putting in a keyword and being done with it. It definitely takes time.
Yeah, and what's really important here is that the reason we're starting in plain language of SEO is that these are part of that foundation. The content you're putting on the website, that local optimization and building your authority is something that is foundational and takes, like Christy said, it takes time to build, and it's going to impact how you're showing up in the AI searches, how you're being recommended by the LLMs, and all of the new buzzwords we kind of see around this topic.
Yeah, so think back to that important question that I just mentioned on the last slide about your website. Does your website clearly answer questions that families are actually asking? The senior living search process is different from the way I might search for something like a piece of furniture for my house. There's long decision timelines, we have multiple decision makers, there's elevated trust needs, of course, emotions that are playing into all of that, and local visibility, right? All of that should help guide your SEO, AI search, and content strategies. But instead, what we see at Smart Girl all too often is something different. These are some of the top mistakes that we see on senior living websites that basically go against those SEO best practices I just showed you. So we're going to get into each of these mistake categories in more detail in just a few minutes. But before we do, I want to make sure you understand how SEO connects to this new method of AI search. And I think we have another quiz question coming up.
Okay, quiz question number two is when a potential prospect goes to a tool like ChatGPT or Claude and asks the difference between assisted living and memory care, where is that AI tool getting the answers from? Options are ChatGPT's own knowledge, B, top-ranked Google website, C, whichever site is written most thoroughly and clearly, or D, it is random. All right. Let me answer. There's question two. Okay, everybody can get their answers in. It has quick countdown there. Seems like a little bit of mystery. Where are they getting their answers from? I hear lots of different answers around this. Should I start a Reddit is my favorite.
All right, how'd everybody do?
Ooh,
Oh, we
let's
had a
split
good
here.
mix.
Yeah.
Okay, so correct answer C, whichever site is written most thoroughly and clearly. So now we know just having a website and existing on the internet doesn't help necessarily that you guarantee that you're going to show up in those search results. And even ranking at the top of Google does not guarantee you a spot in an AI search result. Okay. So now I want you to think about what happens when a potential client is going through this search process, when they use an AI tool to get some kind of help. And we might have, do we have a check-in
Yeah,
yet,
let's
Katie? Or
do
not?
it. We're going to do a quick leaderboard check-in. We're halfway through our quiz questions.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, Dan. Dan and Marianne and neck and neck with Madison
Oh,
coming up right behind. All right. Keep
don't
matching.
forget, timing is important. So not just having the right answer, but being fast. We have to figure out ways to kind of tie break you guys.
There you go. All
Okay,
right.
so this new way of searching for advice or products or services, this is what that marketing buzz is all about. So again, these are things like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini. Basically, instead of going to Google and typing in a short phrase in the search bar, people are instead going to these AI tools and typing in full questions, sometimes even paragraphs of information, and then getting a response back.
Absolutely. And even in today's first session, Catherine and JR really talked about the depth that some of these users are going into using the LLMs to ask their questions and to really look for very specific situational responses.
Yeah, and when a person uses one of these tools, which you can see I've got a little example here, they may get an answer written out to them without the nudge to click over to a website. They may not have a link to click on. And this is evolving too. I know when I used to use ChatGPT in the very early days, I would very rarely get a link to go anywhere. And now it seems like they're doing a little bit better job of trying to credit some people and encourage that. But in traditional Google search, that's the only option we had, right? We would go through a list of website pages, we'd click on one, we'd read a little bit, and then we'd decide to either stay and look around or we would leave and go to another website. But with AI tools, a family member may never even click into a single website before they decide who they want to start contacting.
Well, an interesting stat to throw in here, Christy, is that it's estimated that over 50% of consumers are now using conversational AI and generative engine question and tools like LLMs to make those complex decisions. So, this is very, very relevant as it's a major shift in audience behavior and how they search.
Yeah, so that is the entire idea behind that term zero-click search that you might have heard about. So there's now a pretty high chance that a potential client looking online for senior living services will not start their search in the normal or classic way anymore. I mean, look at that stat that Katie was just talking about. So now we need to figure out how we can show up in these new search methods. And there are several things that we can do to improve our chances. And here are a few of those AI search kind of optimization tasks. So we can provide thorough, detailed content that does not hide the answers that people are looking for. I think that was in our presentation from this morning, including very upfront answers, right? Instead of putting them buried down on the page. We can go a step further and think about incorporating sets of those frequently asked questions into your most important website pages or blog posts. Make sure that your content is well organized and structured correctly from a technical standpoint. Testing out your website on mobile phone, tablet, right? Have a friend click through your website. Is it easy to navigate? Is it easy to use? Are things working correctly? And then make sure that wherever your community shows up online, that you are sending that same message. We want that consistent information. So after going through this very short list, I'm hoping that everyone here is kind of thinking the same thing. And I hope you're thinking, wait, isn't that really similar to those SEO best practices that we were talking about at the beginning? And the answer is yes. I'm not trying to trick you. Optimizing for AI search and optimizing for classic SEO and Google search are not two entirely different systems. They truly do complement and kind of build on each other. Now, there is a certain KPI that I've heard talked about several times throughout the summit that's highly emphasized in the senior living industry. And we've already mentioned it, like I said, a few times. And that is reviews or testimonials. Okay. So we've established that online reviews are helpful in building your trust and reputation. But I want you to answer this little quiz question here, right? We've got another question. I know Katie didn't prompt it like she has been with the others. So speed is of the essence, people. I hope you're paying attention. True or false? Having more reviews always beats having better reviews.
Here's the
Does
quiz
having more
results.
reviews beat out having better reviews?
True or false? Question is live. This is always a hot topic in senior living. We're always looking for those raving fans. I've heard a lot of people say they like Darren's click pin tap to get the reviews from session
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah. Okay. What do we have? Okay, well, there was a pretty big difference there, and the correct answer is false. So when it comes to reviews, try not to place all of the importance or emphasis on quantity. So both SEO and AI search optimization care about consistent trust signals. So aim to get reviews on a steady basis that are, of course, as detailed and positive as possible. And then take some time to give a thoughtful reply to each one that comes in. I know people tend to only reply to negative reviews, but we want to reply to those positive ones too.
Absolutely. Well, we all know that reviews are the social proof families are looking for to get a glimpse into the life of what it's like to be at the community. And over 72% of searchers are actually looking at your reviews on Google. So,
Yeah. So we know that SEO and AI optimization are building on each other. So now I want to go over some practical steps that you can take to improve your visibility in all the places, right? So we don't want to focus on just one of these four areas. We want to address each of these puzzle pieces. So first, let's get into content strategy, right? We've been hearing a lot about content today. So by content, this could be a page on your website or a post on your blog. These are some of the simplest ways that you can build and improve your community's trust and authority by creating that extremely valuable, helpful content. So remember, we don't want to use your website to only address community details. We want to talk directly to your ideal client, address the questions they have, or even just the emotions that they're feeling, right? We can also incorporate those FAQs and write blog posts to address each stage of the buyer's journey, keeping those unique types of buyer personas in mind. Another thing that you can do is present some like staff bios or behind the scenes photos that offer a point of personal connection and again, build that trust. And then consider how to speak about pricing on your website, even if you don't give exact numbers. And I say this because cost is one of the top keywords people search for directly after or when they're looking into service options.
Oh, yes. And the topic of pricing transparency in the industry has been a hot topic for many, many years, and how we can speak about pricing and position pricing in a way that builds value and answers the questions that the audience is looking for. And Catherine and JR gave some great examples about how to do that with your content and how you answer those questions, and gave some really great structure, like how you structure your content on the page as well, that all plays into this.
Okay, so keeping in mind that we want our communities to be found for very specific cities or areas, we need to amplify those location signals, right? And you can do that by claiming and thoroughly completing your Google business profile and bringing in those reviews consistently. A little note, you may typically collect reviews on other platforms, which is totally fine. Just remember that those platforms, especially if they're paid, if you stop that membership, you may lose those reviews. So personally, I always recommend asking for Google reviews first, then consider those platforms a bonus. Of course, respond to both positive and negative reviews. And I also like to keep a backup spreadsheet of all reviews because even Google can have issues with reviews that seem to disappear at random. So there's you can never be too safe with reviews, especially with as valuable as they can be. So if things like your Google business profile or local directory listings appear dormant or outdated, that can confuse potential clients or put doubt in their minds. So keep those listings fresh and up to date. And then lastly, build those location specific landing pages if you are a multi-community operator that wants to target multiple cities. Now, this can be a little tricky to do without having lots of duplicate looking pages that can be flagged on your website and not indexed, but it's an incredibly powerful strategy when done well.
Well, and I may be showing my marketing nerdiness here, but I love writing a local landing page that's like highlighting key things to do or places to eat or where to go in a specific local area because it's interesting information. It's valuable to the user. They want to know like how close is the community to key amenities around the city. So it can be kind of fun if you get really creative with how you create a localized page on your website that highlights the distinct geographic region. I also want to call out some great notes in our chat here real quick. Catherine throws in, highlighting your tenured care staff is a really great way to build that trust, like you mentioned earlier, Christy. And then Dan, yes, if you don't have the right pricing out there, AI may be pulling in the wrong pricing for your community, and certain platforms may already be publishing your pricing. So we don't want to get too much into the to pricing transparency debate. It is a debate in how you do that, but it is a great point that, if you don't have the right pricing out there and you're not looking at that, AI tools could be pulling in the wrong pricing and giving the wrong impression around your community's price point. So great.
Absolutely. I mean, AI tools can hallucinate. I think, it used to be very apparent in the beginning. Now they've kind of dialed that back a little bit. It could even be something as simple as you created a listing for your community on a directory 3 years ago and you forgot about it and you never updated your pricing information. You don't know necessarily all the different places that those AI tools are going to pull that information from. Okay, so let's get back to technical foundations for just a sec, right? We need to make sure that people are enjoying coming to our website and clicking around, right? So if your website is slow to load, difficult to use, the likelihood is that potential clients leave your site and go to a competitor. So SEO cannot fix a bad or broken website. SEO will bring people to your website, but then it's up to your website to convert those leads from a lead to an inquiry. And you can also check those back-end keyword areas too. So make sure your website is easy to use on a phone, desktop computer, and then lastly, review those CTA buttons and other links. Are they taking people to the correct page, or is something broken and they're not going on the path that you would expect them to? And then that brings us to our final puzzle piece. So these are the AI visibility amplifiers. So write your content in an easy to read, organized format, which is like making use of those HTML heading tags to provide a clear page structure to page crawlers. Thinking back to like high school and college writing days, not having extremely long paragraphs, separating those up, into chunks. Also, if you've got the ability to incorporate structured data, sometimes referred to as schema markup, we touched on that earlier today. Make sure you can add that in as well. And then review your business entity information. So are you presenting the same business details in all of the places you show up online, like the pricing we were just talking about? If not, we want to find that incorrect, misleading information and then fix it.
Absolutely. And we have a couple bonus resources that we will have linked in the resource library with today's recording. But one, we have a Google Business Profile checklist. So if you want to go in and look at, some of the basics of getting your Google Business Profile optimized or making sure it's up to date, we've got a checklist for you. And we also have our Raving Fans e-course, which is just a simple 5-day email course to help you set up and create a consistent and repeatable framework for gathering reviews among your communities. Looks like Lauren's actually dropped some links in the chat. If you want those right away, we'll also make sure that they are accompanying this recording. So some bonus resources for anybody just looking to tackle these key foundational components that are going to impact your SEO and your AI visibility in searches. Oh, we have one more question.
So let's see how closely everyone's been paying attention. I hope this is a final no-brainer question for everyone. If anything, I just want to see how many people are still here. So, true or false? To rank well in AI search results or AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, you need a completely different strategy than traditional SEO.
True or false? The question is live on your device. Get your answers in.
And Katie, I just got to say, I know I'm kind of backpedaling here, but I loved what you were talking about with the location unique pages. The
Mhm.
old strategy in SEO used to be like, oh, you just duplicate it and change out a few keywords. It doesn't work that well anymore. So I'm glad that you get excited about that.
I'm a marketing. I get excited about the weird things. Okay, our answers are in.
Ah, perfect scores. That is what I was hoping to see. So, answer is false. SEO is not dead. You don't need to throw everything that you've done in the past out and start over. We know that the way that your ideal clients are searching for senior living services is changing, but the foundation that allows you to show up in both of these places, right, to be an option for the classic Google searcher or the LLM AI searcher, that foundation remains stable. And as much as I would love to say that there's something totally new to try or implement a cool hack or a shortcut, that's just not how search works. I'm going to read a quote here. I've got this pulled up straight from Google when Google was asked about ranking in this kind of new world of AI. And Google said the best practices for SEO continue to be relevant because our generative AI features on Google search are rooted in our core search ranking and quality systems. So if the industry leading search engine that's been around for almost 30 years now tells you that the fundamentals are still at the core of what they're doing, that's what I'm going to be inclined to believe and kind of go with.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and for my entire digital career, Google has stressed the importance of being a reliable source for their users. So they have always stressed that they want to bring back the right information to the right user at the right time. They're just changing how they're doing it with these LLMs and this, addition of AI search. And so they're changing stuff weekly, Christy. Sometimes I feel like it's daily. They're constantly rolling out new changes that are embracing AI, but that's why these foundational components are so important. And the authority themselves in Google is saying, yes, these foundations are important. So,
Of course. And I mean, we know already that the AI tools that are out there are all taking different things into account when they're giving search results, but they're still pulling on all of that categorized and cataloged data and looking to Google for guidance. So what I want you guys to do is pick one of these tasks and tackle it this week. You could add in those frequently asked questions or refresh your Google business profile in just a few hours. Like get it accomplished and done out of the way in less than a day. But regardless of what you choose to do, what I want to encourage you guys to do is to take action because the longer you put off this optimization work, the further behind you're going to be in showing up where those ideal clients are. And we need that visibility if we want those high occupancy numbers that are going to turn into those community waitlists.
Absolutely. I am a big fan of taking action. So really breaking it down into that one actionable piece that you can tackle today or this week, I think is such great advice. So it has been, there's been so much to take in. There's so much moving with AI and SEO and all the things. You know, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed with it, we're here to help. If you want to talk about your SEO strategy, if you want to just talk about your overall digital strategy and how it all works together as one large ecosystem, here is the QR code to book a call with me on my calendar. We have been doing some really great SEO audits and really looking at the AI visibility metrics to see where clients are and how we can improve not only their SEO, but also that AI visibility by implementing these best practices and these tactics along the way. So if that's something you're interested in. If you want to get deeper on SEO or anything in digital, grab some time to chat with me. Christy, I know would love to take a look at some SEO metrics with you and see how we can partner and work together. Now, before we get to the leaderboard, because I know everybody's hanging out to figure out who's the winner of our big quiz, we did have a couple questions get submitted. So if you have SEO questions, if there's anything you heard us talk about on this session or earlier today or really across the entire summit, drop them into the chat. We had a couple SEO questions come in today, Christy, so I want to kind of jump in. And so I'm going to start with the question we had about reporting, because I think being able to understand your reporting and benchmark where you are today is also going to help you see the growth and measure growth as things continue to unfold. So the question is, what should I be containing in an SEO report that can be distributed to local community leaders that informs without overwhelming while also providing transparency in the effort? So that's a multi-layered question, but very, very relevant for our audience. So how would you answer that, Christy?
Oh, well, I'll kind of touch on the way that I look at how to structure reports. And then if you want to tackle like more about specific things to include, I always try to keep in mind we want to show progress, right? As SEOs, we know that people care about results, but we also know that progress takes time. It's not going to be an immediate overnight change. I mean, sometimes it can be if you've had some really poor or not optimization happening at all, you can start to see some changes very quickly once you start to implement those, but a lot of it is slow growth. Another thing, like instead of talking about technical changes like, oh, there were issues with the sitemap rendering or your schema markup, wasn't done correctly. Instead of talking about technical changes and kind of throwing out too much jargon or having that like terminology overload, center those reports around something like, is your online visibility improving? What are we doing to keep that momentum going? Things like big wins, big opportunities, what your agency might be focusing on the next month. There's lots of different things that you can look at, but we want to show, yes, we're working on things. Yes, we're monitoring some of these really interesting, fun stats to look at, but we don't want to overload them with too much technical stuff. We want them to be able to see the true business impact of what you're working on.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll add, like AI reporting is kind of an evolving metric for us right now. Even Google is slowly rolling out different ways to benchmark traffic coming from the LLMs. So, couple points I would add in here is you can look at something like an AI visibility metric that's available in some of the SEO tools that are out there. It may be a good place to just I don't want to say it's a generic benchmark, but it is a measure, a numeric measure of how well your site is being shown in AI. So it's AI visibility on like a SEMrush or a tool like that. In GA4, I like to look at the traffic source and traffic coming from the LLM. So ChatGPT is usually broken out, Gemini is usually broken out. And so looking at how much traffic's actually clicking through to those, which again, we're in a zero click environment, so it may not be a ton of traffic. But if you have your key events set up in GA4, I am seeing traffic to client websites from the LLMs that are being attributed to the key events like a form fill or a call to a call tracking number. So if you have those metrics set up, you can look at the reporting in GA4 as well.
Yeah, and AI tools are only going to get better at being able to give us that information. I know we can see things like traffic data, but things like what was the actual full query or prompt that they typed in, we don't necessarily see all of that in its entirety. So I'm really excited to kind of see that improve over time.
Absolutely. Okay, another question is what is one SEO tactic you think marketers are spending too much time on today?
Oh, okay. I will say, and this is not exclusive to the senior living industry, but I've seen this quite often where people are kind of chasing the wrong keywords. This could be keywords that people are actually using, or just keywords that have extremely low search volumes when there are better keyword options out there. Because if you use any sort of tool, and you could always run this in a couple of different tools and see what you get back. But if you see that there's zero search volume for a keyword, even if you feel like it is the epitome of what you offer and describes your service perfectly, if no one is using that term to look for what you have to offer, it's not going to help you with bringing people into your sphere. So being able to use language as unattractive as it may be at times for what people are actually looking for is extremely important.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's a great point around how we talk about ourselves within the industry and how our audience searches for us and the terms that they use when they're searching for us. Finding that balance that aligns with our brand positioning around, let's just use independent living. Um, Not everybody knows that senior living is independent living. They may not understand some of those nuanced terms, and they may even be looking for something even more generic and further away from independent living. They may just be looking for nursing home. And so being able to balance what are our searchers looking for, as well as how are we positioning ourselves with that to so that we're showing up for keywords that have search volume to them. So I think that's a great answer. I think the other piece, I'll just give you my opinion on this, is not really having a cohesive content plan for those targeted keywords. So really thinking about the depth of answers that are now being, needed to answer those LLM questions, those really nuanced, situational, familial questions that get put into ChatGPT. And then how are you creating a cohesive content plan that's answering those depth of questions in a way that has that structure so that the LLMs pick them up and really thinking about that like holistically around your entire content plan in alignment with the right keywords, and really looking at that. And the model we like to use for cohesive content plan is what we call a hub and spoke model, where we have a centralized hub of content that is really building authority and trust around a very specific vertical of questions that are being asked around different care levels and amenities and things like that. So really being cohesive and intentional with that content plan is important.
Yeah, no, I'm in a complete agreement. And Google, while Google does rank individual pages, right? We don't just typically see a blue link pop up and then we get a list of every page on your website to click on. It's ranking individual pages. Google still does look at your entire website or your entire domain as a whole. And if you could position yourself as the expert, I think a great way to think about this from a kind of like if you can visualize this with me is rather than your content being a mile wide and an inch deep, meaning you're covering a lot of things, but you're only barely scratching the surface. Google really loves to see websites that are an inch wide and a mile deep. You're covering a very, very small collection, a very curated amount of content ideas, right, and topics, but you're going extremely in depth on those content ideas.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw out one more question and we'll get to the leaderboard. I'm curious, how do you think that Google business profiles will evolve as AI becomes more integrated with local search? This may be a little more of a predictive, get your
Yeah,
magic
and
eight ball out. And
I mean, I can give you an answer today, but it's probably going to change a month from now. Because right now, the majority of local searches, when you're looking for senior living community near me, something like that, you may get an AI overview at the top with a few recommendations, but the map pack is still provided before those like organic search listings. So I believe that like having an active, up-to-date profile is still going to be very important for the foreseeable future, but we'll definitely have to pay attention and see, does that map pack disappear? Does the AI overview instead disappear and they just show the map pack and organic listings? How do those local searches evolve? Because again, it's definitely going to change.
well, the one constant with Google is that they are constantly changing. So, all right, is everybody ready for the leaderboard, the final winner of our quiz? Dan, congratulations! You have won our SEO quiz today. Thank you guys for playing. I hope you have found this session and our entire summit having something that you can take back to your organization and implement. We are here if you have questions. As you log out today, there is that end of day survey. So please give us the feedback. We love hearing from you. We love the honest feedback. We want to do more of these style events for this industry. So we want to hear from you what's going to be valuable. Plus, when you finish that survey, it will be a bonus entry in our total event drawing that will happen on Monday. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us for the summit. Christy, thank you for sharing and talking SEO. We could probably talk a whole nother hour about this topic. So
We could. Yeah, it's very good that I have a time limit. Let's just say that.
absolutely. There's a lot to talk about in this. So
Yeah.
thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. The Smart Girl team is here if you have any questions or need anything. We will talk to you all later.
Bye.